Ladies and gents, today we're joined by Romain, who's a senior engineer at Pennylane. Pennylane offer an operating system for finances. They're a major player in France. They're actually ranked at unicorn status after a funding round earlier this year in 2024. But earlier this year, taking their raising to over 43 mil. Romain's been with the business for a long time. He's seen technological change, which we're going to talk about, and the evolution of this and how it's actually presented different engineering challenges along the way. If you haven't heard of Penny Lane, they're essentially building some really powerful, complex software that allows users to manage workflows of invoicing, procurement, cash flow, and accounting. So in the fintech space. Romain, thanks for coming to join us.
Thanks a lot. Happy to be here. Um,
Good. Pleasure.
so yeah, actually, Pennylane is an accounting software first. So the way to think about it is we obviously want to be this financial OS you mentioned, and we did this by first building an accounting system that we put in the hands of accountants, and that is replacing, let's say, legacy softwares. And we are building on top of this a bunch um, of features that implement very useful business workflows like invoicing, procurement, bank account, and so on and
Yeah.
so forth.
Love it. Intro you as well. I'm really keen to hear about your background. You've been involved in some pretty impressive stuff. So tell us about you.
Sure. So today I'm 41, and I've been in the tech industry for a long time now. And before joining Pennylane, I was an entrepreneur, and I created two startups that were very different from each other. And the two of them were much smaller than Pennylane, obviously. So the first one is called Event Maker, and it still is a company that is building um, a participant management system for event managers. Okay, it was a fully bootstrapped company, and it grew quite a lot over the first 7 years. But it was like a different kind of growth than what you do when you are a venture-backed startup like a Pennylane. And so we grew up to, if I remember correctly, around 3 million ARR in 7 years, always profitable. There was a small development team, but I would say very effective because people had been around for ever, essentially. So everyone knew the product and the technology extremely well. So I decided to leave to go to another challenge, which was about creating a challenger bank. So this one didn't work so well. So this one I wanted to raise money and attract customers. So we created the product. It was about helping people to save money automatically. So unlike other players that wanted to replace traditional banks, we were telling people it's really fine. Just keep using your bank. We're just gonna connect your data, and whenever we observe some patterns, we're gonna automatically save money in your account that you created on our application. So it was an actual bank account, but it was not supposed to be your main account. So people loved it. We grew to I think it's about 150,000 customers in 18 months. But the main problem with those kind of consumer banking systems is that customers are very expensive to operate. So in average, it's something around €1 per month per active customer, and it's very difficult to have them pay like €2 per month. So it's probably something we could have spotted in the first place, but it didn't work out. And so after 3 years, I left the company, and I think 1.5 years later, it eventually got bankrupt.
Okay. That's a
That's
real
that.
shame. That's a real
Yeah,
shame.
yeah.
That's some journey, and you've clearly got that entrepreneurial spirit in you. that took you to Pennylane really early stage, first manager in the business, and I'm looking forward to talking about some of that growth today and
Of
some of the
course.
decisions that you've made along the way. So, can you take us back to early days at Pennylane and
Yes.
wow, like
Okay.
even what it looks like today and years on and customers on?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I just talked about my previous experience. I have to say, when I joined Pennylane, it was a much bigger. It was a much bigger company than everything I have known before, at least in the tech industry. So Pennylane was around 150 employees when I joined. It was in May 2021. And I think there were around 20 engineers at that time. And all the management was done by two of the co-founders who are tech co-founders. Okay, and this is when they started hiring their first manager. So it was me, and so I was the manager of the accounting team, because Pennylane is a kind of two-sided software where some users are actually accountants using the platform like all day long. Okay, and the other users are business owners using traditional invoicing, like banking features and expense management, etc. So there was only one team of 5 engineers working on accountant related features. That's funny because I think today it's 12 teams, and probably 70 engineers in total. So it grew quite a lot on this side of the company. And maybe to give you some kind of other interesting fun fact, I was there. So a few days after I joined, we celebrated the having 1,000 customers on the platform, which is a big deal if you think about it, because a B2B business usually acquires customers much slower than B2C businesses. So 1,000 paid customers, B2B customers, is quite a big deal. So it was quite a milestone. And these days, the company is onboarding approximately 1,000 customers per week. And in September, we even had 1,000 customers per day in average. Okay, so that gives you some kind of idea about how the company grew in terms of a market of a customer acquisition.
Wow, okay. That is pretty impressive growth. In just 3 years as well. And you're right, B2B to acquire customers is a lot more challenging than B2C. The life
Yes.
cycles, the buy in with other products in the market. So you must be doing something right. What do you think that is? What do you think you do well?
Yeah, so I think I have a very clear answer to this. So, as I told you, Pennylane is used by accountants and business owners. So we have two types of customers that are interested in Pennylanes. Okay, so people come to Pennylane and say, "Okay, I want to manage invoice, and I want to manage accounting, so I want to use Pennylane." So we tell them, "Okay, do you have an accounting firm already?" If the answer is yes, then we're gonna try to talk to the accounting firm and introduce Pennylane to them. And if the answer is no, we can introduce them to an existing accounting firm we are already working with. So this is a great way for us to start talking to accounting firms, because we have some kind of important inbound traffic of customers. Okay. On the other hand, we are spending a large amount of energy trying to convert accounting firms to migrate all their clients to Pennylane. So the way it works is we start talking to an accounting firm. It can be through a customer that we first acquired, but not necessarily. Then they are usually convinced to start, a pilot with like five companies, and when they are ready to migrate, they just press the button, and we suddenly acquire another 100, 500, 1,000, or in some cases 10,000 customers. So this is how Pennylane attracts customers. So we leverage accounting firms a lot for that.
Okay, interesting. That is a really interesting go-to-market strategy, really. And I guess then it's that trade-off, showing benefit, value to the accounting firms to actually migrate their customers over. I'm sure there's wonderful ways in which you do that. I'm really interested to talk on some of the technical topics. You've no doubt seen a lot of technological change from day one. You know, that milestone a few days in of a thousandth customer to September 2024, and you're talking about thousands of customers daily. Talk to us about some of the engineering challenges that you've seen start to finish throughout that period.
Sure. So there are many of them, and I think I have two ideas about. There are two aspects I can talk about. One is about how we deal with our code base and the choices we made about sticking with the monolith architecture from day one and still today. And I can happy to give you good news about how our monolith is performing today. And the second one is about raising the bar about software quality and stability. Okay, so the short answer to your question is that there was no technological change introduced in the main code base per se, but we really tried to adapt our tooling and how we scale our database and our practices to our current environment, rather than turn the ship around and just change everything and go for a microservices architecture.
Let's talk about the monolith versus microservice architecture. Big topic of conversation, I think, over the last few years. You've probably seen it. You know, I see this on my LinkedIn frequently. People having this discussion. I think it's almost more that I see companies now choosing to stick with a monolithic architecture. So, help us understand that decision for you and why you decided to stay with a monolith as opposed to moving to a microservice architecture.
Yeah, of course. So I think the hype around Monolith was started by Basecamp, who's the company who created the Ruby on Rails framework, and that's the framework where you were using at Pennylane for our application. And uh, and I think the idea was that, okay, it's perfectly possible to scale a monolith to very high limits, and you don't need to re-architect your application to go to microservices, which is essentially going to create a new set of challenges for so you think you're having problem with your monolith, but actually you're going to have new problems with your microservices architecture. But also, if you change your architecture, it's going to be like a great effort to just re-architect everything and extract tens or hundreds of microservices, which is usually not directly creating value for customers.
I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So the transition itself, I think, is a nightmare. And also, I think there's a number of strategies you can deploy to make the monolith easy to live with. And I think another aspect is about all that has changed in the industry in the last 10 years, because usually what's breaking, so the two things that are breaking first in the monolith application is the database, okay, and the other one is the CI itself, okay. So you need to think about databases. Today you are buying databases to cloud providers, and the size of the largest database you can buy keeps growing. Okay, so the limit you had 5 years ago is very different from the one you have today. So I think it's easier today for the database will break problem to just stick with the monolith architecture.
Okay, interesting. So those 2 points that you mentioned, database and CI, that's why people were moving to microservice, as I understand it.
Yes, I think another one is ownership. So when you are working on a large monolith, it's not a problem if you have 5 engineers and one team or like 2 teams, but it becomes much more of an issue when you have 20 teams and more than 100 engineers, because um, you can easily break things from many other teams without realizing you're going to break their feature. And conversely, if you're not very sure about what you're doing, like you're a newcomer, you can be very afraid to just break something when you deploy a change. Okay, so I think that's the main fear, and I think the main problem is about not clear ownership inside the code base. And this is the kind of thing that people also solve by using microservices.
Okay. And
Okay.
they see the ownership in microservice, hence why they wanted to adopt that.
Yes, exactly. When you create another microservice, it's gonna have its own API. It's gonna be documented. You know for sure what API consumers are using. You know that they are not gonna start using internals of your code. So this part works very well. Okay, but there are actually other ways to implement that inside the monolith, which is the kind of things we explore. And um, so what we did was look into the industry and think and look at what all those companies are telling. And I think that most most companies that started with a monolith architecture actually failed and eventually went into microservices. So we tried to focus on the ones that succeeded. And I have examples in one that are two famous examples in mind that are um, both using the Ruby on Rails technology. So one is GitHub and the second one is Shopify. So Shopify and GitHub both have, I guess, hundreds, if not thousands, of engineers, and still today operating an extremely large monolith at a very large scale. So we try to investigate about what these companies did to make this monolith approach a success. And one thing we found out was about the possibility to modularize your application. So instead, the problem when you are using Ruby on Rails is that there's like a models, views, and controllers folder where you're going to put all controllers or all models and all views. Okay, and when the code base gets big, you're going to have thousands of controllers, so it's very difficult to understand which ones are important, which ones are part of your team, and so on and so forth. So those technologies that were used by those successful companies in their monolith architecture allow you to change the to change the file structure of your Ruby on Rails app and put some folders under like specific packages without disturbing the application too much. So essentially, when you are using Rails, we don't really care about where a file is located in order to be accessible in production. That's part of the magic of Ruby. Okay, but you can so you can actually change the folder structure, and this is what a technology called Packwork does. So Packwork is a technology that is essentially a um, build time technology. So it does not do anything at runtime. It's just doing things at a build time, and it's allowing you to put files in various packages, and you can actually declare what is the public API of those packages, and you can even declare what other packages you want to depend on, which allow you to monitor all the privacy violation or dependency violation, because if your code is using um, is using a function or a class that is declared on another components, but this component is not declared as a dependency, then you're going to get a warning. So suddenly you have a way to sort of mimic the kind of benefits people see in microservices without migrating to microservices. And the refactoring itself is really not so expensive. It's just about moving files. You don't need to change many dependencies across thousands of files.
It's good that there's examples in the industry where you're able to take their successes and introduce your own efforts into actually ensuring that you don't go down the route of actually failing as a business because you're not able to provide customer value in the end, which is what you said. And it all comes back to that. And you're obviously spending a lot of time and effort on software quality. Break down what software quality means and break down what you're actually doing. What are you introducing to ensure it's quality?
Yes, sure. So um, as we were discussing before the recording started, so Pennylane went through multiple like stages. When I joined, it was still like a startup, which goal was to deliver things as fast as possible, and it was really okay to break production, and it was not rewarded, but almost okay. It was really this kind of move fast and break things mindset. This is what allowed the company to grow so fast and to deliver features so fast. I remember I was a client of Pennylane before being a Pennylane employee, and I could not believe how fast this product was just rebuilding their features constantly. For example, I thought that the invoicing feature was not that great. I didn't tell them, but 2 weeks after there was a new version which was like a much better. So this move fast approach was very important for the company, and I was actually very shocked when I joined because, as I told you, the company was much bigger than the ones I was working with before. But it was the engineers were going much faster. So this is where we were when I joined. Okay, and there was this kind of organic way of working where errors were popping up here and there. People were just volunteering to fix them most of the times. Okay, but there were also many times where errors got forgotten. Okay, because errors were just reported in a Slack channel which was called accounting question. So when the customer had a question, we were asking a question like, "This customer cannot do this and that. Can you have a look?" And engineers would just jump in and say, "Okay, I'm just sending a fix. It's going to be in production in 20 minutes." So this was the kind of happy path of fixing issues. But the reality was that the perceived quality for customers was decreasing over and over. Okay, so we decided to do something about this quality problem. So what we did was, okay, let's try to monitor the number of bugs we have and monitor the incoming number of bugs we have week after week. Okay, and we started, building dashboard, setting objectives for teams. Okay, and we started monitoring very closely how the levels are evolving, so that we could start to have some kind of visibility about this situation, and also make sure we actually not forget those things that we were forgetting in the past. Another thing we did was to define internal SLAs. Okay, so SLA stands for service level agreement, and it was internal because it was a way for us to establish some kind of contract between ops teams and product teams to say, hey, for bugs of category P3, we commit to investigate within 5 business days. If it's a P1, it's going to be 1 business hour, etc. Okay, so this allowed us to create some kind of trust where everyone knows what's expected in terms of reactivity for every kind of bugs. So this was about the observability stack and the way we managed to actually get those issues fixed is by various mechanism, but I would say the most advanced one we have today is so we build some kind of separated teams for a period of 2 months that we called shared scalability teams, where so you're going to regroup 5 different teams, and each team is going to send 1 to 2 engineers depending on their needs, and all those folks will be together for 2 months. So it has, and their goal, of course, is to improve quality and obviously fix bugs. So it's interesting because it allows us to do some kind of capacity planning depending on the actual levels of incoming bugs. So you can easily say, okay, this team is going to send 2 engineers, this one is going to send 1, etc. And second, it puts all people together, like all working on the same kind of problems. And suddenly, like the bug levels for 5 teams is very important for the business. Okay, so you want to keep the overall levels below 30 bugs, which is something people care a lot about. So all those people are working towards this shared objective, but they are working on their individual scope. So we want people to remain specialized. So everyone works on its side, but they actually they actually see everyone else working on fixing their bugs. And also we try to make sure that there's always like some kind of very senior engineer as part of the group who's going to help pretty much everyone being unblocked on like complex issues. So that's the most advanced setup we built to actually fix issues, and it's working pretty well. And if I can give you some kind of results, so I don't have exact figures about our traffic, but you can pretty much assume it did 10x in the last 2 years. But our bug levels, I think today are below 100 open bugs for the entire company. And 2 years ago, they were above 300. Okay? And the company size, so the number of teams increased, the number of, deployment in production increased, so more opportunities to introduce bugs, etc. So we did much better over the last 2 years in terms of bug levels.
I think shining a light on the observability part is important. Creating internal SLAs with ownership for everyone to contribute towards this is important. But that evolution, like investing in these things early, I say early, but it's probably early in your journey now when you look back a few years ago to see the scale at which you're at now in terms of customer base to where you were. Like investing in it then has paid dividends. Like there's always been that mantra, it seems, with Pennylane, we need to move fast. The work back then means you can work fast now. So it's quite nice to see that evolution for you all.
Yeah. So you can see this kind of setup as a contradiction between our move fast mindset and um, and uh, and the kind of quality expectations we have. But I like to see, quality as a constraint and velocity as an objective. So I'm perfectly fine with like trying to keep improving the velocity and keep moving fast, and always take opportunities to move fast when we have the possibility to do so. And there are actually many opportunities, even in a company like Pennylane. Okay, but you need to have those kind of stability criteria met. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I think it's quite unique as well because you have built a remote engineering team and culture. And I think to be able to move at the pace that you are at the moment, it's pretty phenomenal. So I want to try and understand how you've done that to the best of your ability and what are some pro tips that you can give to people building a remote engineering culture. What's important?
Yeah. So what's funny is that when I joined Pennylane, I had a few ideas about how you are supposed to operate a full remote company. And I realized that Pennylane was not like fully working this way. Okay, so for example, I think that creating a remote environment is actually creating specific challenges, and we need to tackle those challenges. One of them is it's more complex for people to build relationships and to build trust with each other. Which is why Pennylane is not very much of a synchronous and a culture where you have to write down everything so that everyone is on the same page. That's not like the most important thing. What's important is that people have time to collaborate. So we really encourage people to talk to each other, to jump on a call when they want to discuss something. And we try to create this kind of proximity with people as much as we can. So this is by encouraging people to talk to each other. Um, we are also, so I am personally very much attached to teams having like a daily stand-up meetings. So daily stand-ups are considered boring by many people. I get that. A bunch of people don't really listen to what everyone else is saying. But um, when you are in a full remote environment, if if that's the only way that you're gonna have some kind of regular touch point with your colleague to actually understand how they feel, what are their challenges, etc. I think it's very important. So we strongly encourage teams to spend those kind of rituals together. And another thing we do is obviously we organize um, Pennylane days every 3 months, where everyone is gonna come to Paris and spend time together for 3 days.
Okay, love that. What do you, what do you think that encouragement looks like? Because encouragement, I think, is one thing, and the act of doing and teams actually getting together and collaborating can sometimes be another thing. What do you think is the secret sauce in there to be able to like enable that to happen? The collaboration part.
So I think what I just mentioned plays a big role in the collaboration itself, to be honest. But I think obviously other things that are important is people understanding the vision of the company. So the vision of the company is very strong, and I think people can feel it and really want to help the company achieve its goals. So I think this creates a good alignment between even engineers. Okay, and this is relayed by product managers who are in charge of creating a vision for their own team. So I think part of the motivation from folks also comes from this kind of vision and objectives that we define.
Love that. Yeah, I think
Okay,
that's
which
such
is
an
which has nothing to do with working remote.
yeah, okay. No, I agree. I totally agree. I think that's such an important thing from leadership to be able to do that. And leadership, that term varies throughout the business. They can be individual people, individual contributors in your team leading all the way through to C level in the business. I think it is really important to be able to lead people in that way, share that mission.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
no, I totally agree. I think now going into the vision part, I think it would be really good to understand what does the next 12 months look like for Penny Lane? What's the direction that you're going in? Because you've done a pretty impressive few years now with customer growth and acquisition. I think it'd be really good to understand the direction that you're going in and what we're likely to see from Penny Lane.
Yeah. So first of all, the next 12 months don't seem like forever as they might have seen when if you had asked this question 2 years ago. Okay. Um, but so to answer your question, Penny Lane is in some kind of acceleration phase because we raised money and raised a lot of money. We really want to take this opportunity to accelerate, and we are aggressively recruiting both on the engineering side and on the sales side. So, for example, we are currently hiring 8 engineers per month.
Wow.
Okay. which is quite a challenge in itself. So the next 12 months, I would say the most important thing to um, the most important area to succeed is in correctly onboarding those approximately 100 engineers that we're going to hire from an engineering perspective. So that's, I would say, number one. Number two, we plan to scale our base of customers as much as we did this year. So probably do around 2x or 3x this year. So we are going to have to enhance all the scaling effort we did in the past, specifically related to our database. So keep working on this. That's a complex technical challenge. And third, we are going to start working on internationalizing the company early next year. So for the first time, we're going to have a dedicated team building the first version of the product that we are going to use to open a new geography. So that's quite of a challenge for us because
That's
it's
quite
going to create
exciting.
quite some disruption in the product.
Love that. So I see a really mighty 12 months. Sales expansion, talking about new geographies, reinvesting in the technology, and ensuring that you've got that scalability, technology scalability, but also the
Mm.
people scalability and hiring the right people to help you keep on building Pennylane in 2025. It's awesome to see. I've loved learning more about the journey, getting a strong sense of collaboration, vision, clear vision about what you guys and girls are doing, but also strong, healthy opinions on the technology choices that you've made and really reinvesting in your technology. So it's been really refreshing to have you, Romain, come and talk to us a little bit about Pennylane, your journey, their journey, and where you're going. So I want to say a massive thanks to you.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.
For everyone listening, you've heard it from Romain. Pennylane are going to be hiring over the next 12 months. If you're an engineer, if you're in sales, if you're in product, go and check these guys and girls out. And for us at the podcast, the likes, shares, subscribership, as you know, this is really important to keeping this little ecosystem buzzing around and being able to share stories like Romain and Pennylane. So please keep on doing that. And again, a massive thanks, Romain. And bye for now and good luck in the next 12 months.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Engineers is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Engineers.io. It's no underscore. We've also got a website which is engineers.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.